What's up, guys? So we're going to check out the notes box over here, which gives us more control specific to this clip that we have selected. I've got two notes going on in here right now. There's this key sounds called Jazzmaster. It's pretty dope. So let's give it a listen and see what it sounds like. Yeah, it's kind of like that funky, jazzy kind of piano organ sound. Over here in the notes box, though, a lot of times I'll just program out two notes and I'll hit duplicate loop, and that just makes it twice as long of a clip. And then I can add more notes around it. One thing we didn't look at yet is the pencil tool, and this thing is also going to be your best friend in the long run. Go ahead and click up there. You'll get the pencil tool. Shortcut is Command B. And you'll notice as I start drawing in the background, it's creating a bunch of notes locked into the grid. So if I want the notes to be a little bit longer as I'm drawing them out and not so short and plucky, then I'm going to want to change the background grid. So maybe I don't want it to be that crazy fast. I can right click in the background and make it one bar or something so the notes are longer and sustained. I'm just drawing out random stuff right now. So I can make it a little bit shorter, something like that. And then I can even duplicate that and maybe take this note and change it and make a little bit of a variation. So you get the idea. And then you have this button over here called legato. It's really awesome for programming bass notes because what it does is it'll cause the notes to lock into each other, where one picks up, the other one will be cut off. So I can highlight all these notes. If you hold down Shift and hit arrow up or down key, you can raise notes up or down an octave. Maybe I want to create a new MIDI track. There's an instrument called the hip hop sub bass. And I'll just type in hip in the browser and I'll go to instruments and bass and load that on a new MIDI track. And now I can hold down Option and click and drag that one clip over to a new MIDI track, and it'll keep those notes. And I've got two different sounds with the same clip playing the same thing. And if I just take on this bass track and I highlight all these tracks and I hold Shift arrow down like I did before, these notes are an octave lower. So now I've got these notes that work. Yeah, and you'll want headphones to actually hear those bass notes that I just played. You get the idea. You can take notes from one MIDI track and you can get those notes down and then duplicate it and add it to a new track. And when you play both those clips together with those two different sounds, it makes it sound really fat. So that's just duplicating different MIDI clips onto different sounds, different MIDI tracks. I'm going to turn off this clip so it stops playing by clicking the stop button below it. One thing you'll realize real quick is you can only play one clip on a single track at a time. So if I have this clip and I launch the clip above it, and I launch the next clip, it'll cut off the previous one and just launch the clip that I wanted it to. I'm just going to delete that. We don't need it. But if I go back into our notes box over here, I can choose to double time or half time a note to make them faster or slower. So now it's twice as fast. That could be cool. Same thing, I can make it longer. Then you have reverse, so it'll take the existing notes and just reverse them backwards in the order. So that could be kind of fun. You can invert them, so it just flops them upside down. We also have legato that I mentioned earlier. It's awesome for bass sounds. It'll lock the notes together. So if I click it, you'll see when the end of a note happens, the next note that's being played is going to automatically meet where the other one left off. So that way they're not overlapping each other. So we have a start marker over here. This is obviously where the clip is starting to play with our start marker. And you can drag up or down on the number itself. So this is showing the first beat of the first measure with these numbers. So this is like measure 1. This is the beats increments within that measure, basically. So we've got this 4-bar clip going on. So below that, I have the end marker. So this is where the clip ends and stops playing. So you can see how long, how short it is. Then we have the loop bracket. So the loop bracket is going to be really, really valuable to cause a clip play over and over and over. And I can move it around. So it'll always start at the start marker, but when it's inside the clip and the loop's on, it'll keep looping inside the loop bracket. And if I turn off the loop, once it gets to the end marker, the clip is just going to completely stop. So let me drag the end marker shorter and hit play. And it just cuts off. I totally encourage you to use these notes box functions to your advantage, because you can just choose to duplicate things, invert them, reverse them. Using the loop feature is really valuable. I encourage you to start typing whenever you can. It just makes it faster. So I can be like, I want this measure to be 4 measures long. So I'll just type in 5 because the end marker stops the loop at 5, which is a full 4-bar measure because it's going all the way to the 5. It ends on the 5 right here. Same thing with the loop bracket. Maybe I want it to be like an 8-bar loop. I can go into the length and type the number 8, and that makes the loop bracket exactly 8 bars. And it's just a quick way to set it up. So with most mainstream music production, you typically produce in multiples of 4. So for example, I would produce like a 4-bar phrase, and sometimes I'll produce an 8-bar phrase, and then I would multiply, by that. So 4 times 2 is 8, 8 times 2 is 16, and 16 times 2 is 32. Typically, you just produce phrases within like 4, 8, or 16 bars. So keep that in mind as you're producing with clips. And I also want to encourage you not to get frustrated. We've barely scratched the surface of producing with MIDI clips, and we'll go a lot deeper into other videos, but hopefully this gets you started.